Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm glad we already have about 10 people on the call, so I'm happy to introduce the host for today. Please, if you're not speaking, please I will put you on mute, please. So yeah, please wait for a sign from me before you can speak, just so we control the static on the call. So I'm happy to introduce today's presenter. His name is Devon Newdorf, and Devon will be happy to have you start off the conversation at once. So the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Absolutely. You want me to get started now, or do you want to wait for some more people to log in?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I think we have about 10 people on the call, so I think we should start.
Okay. No, go ahead.
I'll be sharing the recording afterwards, so they'll be able to catch up on the first few minutes that they missed.
Fantastic. So thank you everyone for taking some time this afternoon to be here today. I hope that you can gain some great insights and learn some new information today. Glory's asked me to speak in the first series of this webinar about developing a business plan and the important aspects to any up-and-coming entrepreneur. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. So today's agenda, I'm going to start out. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, about my background, who I am, where I'm from, my experience, just so that you have a better understanding of who's speaking today and who you'll be dealing with. From there, I'm going to simply get into talking about what a business plan is, why it's important, go over and elaborate on the elements of a business plan. There were a number of questions sent in, and I got a chance to answer some of them, so I'll go over those, and then we'll open the floor up to questions for a couple minutes, so long as time permits at the end. So going on from there, the first slide here, about me. So my name is Devon Newdorf. I'm born and raised in Niagara Falls, Canada, which, as you can see, the waterfall right there. I'm sure you're all very aware of that landmark in the world. I grew up here, and I was born into a family of entrepreneurs. My father's an entrepreneur, my grandfather's an entrepreneur, and so it's always kind of been in my blood to a certain degree. I graduated summa cum laude, which means with highest honors, with a Bachelor of Business Administration, specializing in finance at Adelphi University in New York. So I was lucky to spend 4 years at school in New York, which really is the financial capital of the world, the epicenter to business across the whole globe. And some of my experience was spent, I've worked for Fortune 500 companies, both in New York City itself, as well as Toronto. Toronto's the closest major city to me here, being from Niagara Falls and being Canadian. So that's really the center of business here in Canada. So it's been great to get that experience. My experience spans across industries from finance, insurance, education, charity, nonprofit, sporting organization, some event management. It really, I've been involved with a lot and been exposed to a number of different industries. So I do have a good grasp pretty well, no matter what we're talking about here. And currently I'm a Master in International Business degree candidate at Ivy Business School, which is here in Canada. So it's the preeminent business school and the top business school in the country here in Canada. It was actually ranked as the number one international MBA in the world, back-to-back by Bloomberg Business Week, as you can see with the headline there in the bottom right. So it's a great place to be. And it's also recently been ranked as the number one business school in the world for leadership and developing leaders. So it actually was able to outrank the likes of Harvard, Stanford, Dartmouth Tuck School, London Business School, INSEAD in France. It topped all of those schools in the ranking as the number one for leadership. The school actually operates under a case method class setting. So Ivy is the second largest producer of business cases in the world behind Harvard Business School. So it really teaches its students to become decision makers and really lead organizations, which is why it's such a great place to be studying. But enough about myself. I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of this webinar, and I'm going to start to introduce the actual topic of, what is a business plan? I'm sure we have varying levels of expertise and knowledge about what's a business plan and what it involves, but I'm going to try and start and make it very digestible so that whether you have no knowledge or extensive knowledge, that you're going to be able to take a lot out of this webinar today. So what's a business plan? The actual definition is a written document describing the nature of the business, the sales and marketing strategy, the financial background, and it contains a projected profit and loss statement. So essentially, as you can see in that picture, a business plan is basically a roadmap for your business. It really sets you up for success by showing what needs to be done, how you're going to do it, and where you really want to take the business. It needs to be standardized to a certain degree. Every business plan to be a complete and thorough business plan has to have certain components to it for it to be completed and successful. So going from there, what makes a business plan so important? Why do you think you need a business plan? What's the reasoning for doing it? What's the rationale? Especially if you're looking at it yourself, you might have a great idea, but without a business plan, it's tough to succeed. This is a quote that I really love. So Yogi Berra was actually, he's a baseball player that passed away out of the US, but although he was a professional athlete, he was known for his quotes within the media and within business itself. They called them yogiisms. And so this is one that really is synonymous to business. If you don't know where you're going, you might not get there. And this just speaks to a business plan, because if you don't set out a path on how you're going to get there, if you don't make a full plan and understand what you need to do, where you want your business to get to, how can you really expect to be successful? And how do you know that you're really on the right course? How do you know that you're, crossing those small goals off the list and really moving towards a successful future? So why is it important? Again, speaking about that. So one reason why it's important is it really helps you to identify weaknesses and avoid the big mistakes. You may think that you have a great business idea, but once you really dive deep into it and try to create a plan, you notice the flaws within your own thought process and your business model. Some of the most common reasons businesses fail are things like, there's no market need for your product. You might have a lack of capital or cash flow to operate the business or get it up and running. You may be facing stiff competition within your industry already. Or you could have a completely incorrect gauge on the right pricing that you think that your product or service should take when you officially launch it. And with this business plan just helps you to answer all these questions and define them, again, which leads into the next, just answering the tough questions and helping to make critical decisions. It just gives you that full, thorough background, and it helps you to make better decisions during crises and just really throughout the entire life process of your business. Another one is it helps you to prove the viability of your business. You may have a complete passion for whatever it is that you're looking to create, and that's a great motivator, but it might not be a great proof point to the actual profitability of your business. So by planning out how you're going to turn that vision into a successful business, that's probably the most important step between taking your concept into reality. A full business plan will help confirm that your grand idea really makes sense. Next, you're really looking to reduce the risk, and understand the business landscape that you're facing. If like entrepreneurship inherently is a risky business, as people know, it's all on yourself, but that risk is significantly more manageable and mitigated when you're testing it against a well-crafted business plan. If you've already drawn up, revenue and expense projections, competitive landscape, you're really going to reduce that risk and ensure that the business does well. Finally, it's important because at the end of the day, many of us don't have the financial capital to really start a business and grow that business as we have the vision for in our own head. So without a business plan, you will not be able to secure financing in any kind of banking institution, any institutional investor, because they're putting up their own money against your idea. So without a plan to show how they're going to get their return on equity shown in this business plan, it's really going to be difficult for you to get any investors or any capital into your business at all. Moving on from there, I'm going to go completely through a business plan and talk about some of the most important elements about it, expand on what they actually mean, why you need to do it, and kind of what's included in there. So the way I look at it, there's 8 massive parts to any successful and thorough business plan. You're looking to have an executive summary, a business description, a product description, a market analysis, a competitive analysis, an operational and managerial plan, some financial projections, and then some supporting documents as well. So I'm going to start off and I'll talk to you a little bit about what an executive summary looks like. So an executive summary should be no longer than 1 page. Some people also call it a statement of purpose. And basically it succinctly tells the reader exactly what you're looking for and why. It really encapsulates the reason for writing this business plan altogether. The executive summary is actually written once the entire business plan is completed, and you're going to include some key talking points from the other sections that I'm going to get to a little bit later. So we're going to try and summarize the business description, product description, the competitive advantage, and financial highlights today, some financial requirements, the current business position. These are all going to be really summed up and succinctly put into 1 page at the start of a business plan. And the reason for this is if you go into a bank and you're looking for capital and you drop your business plan on the desk, you want the investor at the bank to be able to, in 1 page, read your business and see, what are you looking for? Is it a $20,000 loan to refurbish your factory? Are you looking for a $50,000 loan to expand your product line? Are you looking for $100,000 to launch your business? It's really got to say all of the information very quickly so that they're not stuck looking through this 20, 30-page document to find your actual reason for being there. So this is just an easy 1-page summary completed at the end that sums up all of the most important points from your entire business plan. Moving on from there, again, you're going to have to expand on that 1 page and really give a thorough description. So you're going to want to have a business description following that executive summary. It'll begin with a short description, explanation of the industry. You're going to want to be researching, understanding the news in the industry as a whole. So you're going to want to know what's going on today in the industry, the outlook, what's coming in the future. You might want to make some references to new products or developments that could benefit or hinder your business itself. And you want to really make sure that this is all based on reliable data and facts. Because again, bankers and investors, they really want to know hard facts, and they don't want to risk money on just assumptions, conjecture, and kind of your own thought process itself. So when you're describing your business here in this section, you're going to really want to include what sector it falls into. Is it a wholesale business? Is it a manufacturing business? Is it a hospitality business? That sort of thing. You're going to also want to say, is this a new or an established business? Are you looking to create something, or are you just looking to have some extra capital within your existing business? Are you looking to expand your business? This is important for the investor themselves. Next, you'll want to talk about what type of ownership group. Are you a sole proprietor? Are you in a partnership? Is this, a C or S corporation? What's really going on here? Who owns it, and where is their money going? Again, you're going to want to list all of the business principles and state what they're bringing to the business and their involvement with it. Next, you'll want to really include the customer base, who you're selling to, how big the market is, and how your products really or how your business is distributed and marketed as a whole. Moving on, you're going to look for a product or service description. That's going to need to be really thoroughly done, because you need to ensure that the reader of this plan has a very clear understanding of exactly what your product or service is. You're also going to want to make sure that you explain how people actually use your product or service. They need to have a clear idea of what you're talking about. What makes your product or service different from the competitors? Why are people going to choose yours, and how do you differentiate yourself? You really need to be specific about what sets yourself apart, because that ties into your competitive advantage, which really intrigues investors and will give them a better sense and idea as to why they want to give their money to you. Moving from there, you're really going to have to include some information about suppliers or experts involved. If you are an existing business and you already have some supply contracts, you're going to want to talk about that. You're going to want to talk about where you're sourcing all of your raw materials from. This is just very, very important to any institutional investor, and they're going to need to know that. If your business plan is going to be used to finance something, you need to explain why the equity or the debt that you're going to get is going to make your business more profitable. If you're looking to, finance a new piece of equipment, you have to say, this new piece of equipment will create a new income stream of $30,000 per year, and say why you need to take that loan, because it's going to leave such a lasting impact, and you need to just really make sure they understand exactly what you're doing. Not only that, you're going to need to have a thorough market analysis. This is arguably the most important section of any business plan, because it just helps to define your product. It helps you to I believe I'm muted right now. Are we good again? Okay. So it helps you to establish pricing, distribution, and promotional strategies that really will allow your company to be successful against your competition, both short and long term. So you're going to want to begin this analysis by really defining size, demographics, structure, growth prospects, trends, and sales potential. These are all going to be major factors in the success of your business and how you're actually going to leverage that competitive advantage and bring profit and capital back into the business. Next, you're going to have to determine how often your product will be purchased and what do you project your market share to be. If you're selling loaves of bread, you're gonna sell them a lot more than a television or an automobile. So this is a much different strategy towards the market itself based on the product or service that you're offering. And you're going to have to tweak your plan accordingly. You have to remember that you might be hoping to gain a massive share of the market, but no one ever gets 100% market share. You could have something as small as 20 or 25%, and that's considered a real dominant share within the market. That'll make you a big player. And your market share will be a benchmark that tells you really how well you're doing in light of your market analysis and your projections. Next, you're also going to have to describe your positioning strategy. So again, how do you differentiate your product or service from that of the competitors, and which market niche are you really filling? This is your positioning. So establishing your product or service's identity within the eyes of the purchaser or customer is your market positioning. It doesn't have to be long or elaborate really, but you do have to point out who your target market is, how you're going to reach them, what they're going to buy from you, who your competitors are, and what is your unique selling proposition really. And finally, you're going to need to determine how you price your product or service. This pricing strategy is absolutely crucial to any business plan. And four of the most commonly used pricing strategies are below. So we're talking about a cost plus pricing, which is typically used by manufacturers, and they assure that all their costs, both fixed and variable, are covered and the desired profit percentage is attained. So you may set a cost plus 20% as your pricing model, for example. Next is demand pricing, which is used by a company that might sell through a variety of sources at differing prices based on demand. You know, if you're selling water bottles, you might be able to sell them for more money during a drought than when it's been raining a lot, to that sort of kind of idea, so that you can think about that. Or you may sell winter coats. Here in Canada, it gets pretty cold, so it's going to be much easier to sell a winter coat at a high price during the winter than it will be the summer when no one is demanding it. A third pricing strategy is competitive pricing, which is when you're entering a market where there's already an established price and competitors, and it's difficult to really differentiate yourself versus the competitors. You're going to kind of just take the established price and run with it. The fourth strategy is markup pricing, and this is used by retailers normally, and it's calculated by basically just adding your desired profit to your total cost. Finally, you're also going to have to establish a distribution network and a promotional strategy. When we're talking about a distribution network, this includes the entire process of moving your product from the factory to the end user or customer. You really need to, if you're entering an established business, analyze your competitors' distribution channels before deciding whether that's a positive and you want to mirror them, or you may have an alternative that you think provides yourself a strategic advantage. When we're talking about a promotional strategy, we're going to talk about all the ways you're going to communicate with your markets to make them aware of your products or services. It should address, advertising, packaging, public relations, sales promotions, personal sales. These all need to be brought together with an idea to come for a thorough promotional strategy. The next step in a business plan is a competitive analysis. So you're going to include a bunch of different matrices, which you might not be familiar with all of these necessarily. This is a lot of kind of consultant talk, but we're talking like a SWOT analysis, which really analyze the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that we're looking at, both within your own company and competitors as well. You're going to want to use an ANSOF matrix, which is, like a strategic planning tool. It really provides a framework for devising strategies toward future growth. You're going to want to create a competitive landscape and understand where you fit in versus the competitors, as well as the Porter's 5 Forces model, just again to see how you compare to everyone and what makes you stand out. So this competitive analysis is really to help determine and identify the strengths and weaknesses of your competitors and the strategies that we can use to differentiate our business itself. It should make it very clear to the reader who your target market is, what your market niche is, and exactly how you're going to stand out against the competition. So to even begin this, you really need to identify both direct and indirect competition, both now and in the future. You may see that it's not extremely competitive right now, and there's not a ton of major competitors, but there could be someone that you see coming into the market in the near future, and you have to prepare for that because they'll have direct implications on your bottom line in months, years, quarters down the road. This is all important. Next thing you want to do is really put together a thorough operational managerial plan. So this is going to describe how the business functions day to day on a continuing basis. You're going to want to have clear definition of the responsibilities of management and the hierarchical structure. So if you're starting up a business, you may not have any employees. You may be running it yourself, and if that's the case, you need to let them know here. If you're an established business, you're going to want to show the clear lines and responsibilities that everyone within the business today has. In addition to that, you're going to want to highlight the organizational logistics in the supply chain. Again, going into suppliers, or maybe you have a full distribution network into a chain of stores. You're going to want to have this explicitly explained within this plan, so that anyone reading the business plan understands how you're creating your products and how you're getting them out the door. All the capital and expense requirements related to these operations should be explicitly and clearly stated here, because they have such implications day to day. Again, much like the market analysis, the financial projections are extremely, extremely important. I can't stress enough how big of a deal this is when you complete your business plan, to ensure that you have these three financial documents. They really form the backbone of your plan. And we're talking about an income statement, a statement of cash flows, and a balance sheet. You'll never be able to gauge the success of your business, and you're going to have difficulty finding investors without these three statements thoroughly and completely done and located within the plan. First, I'm going to dive into the income statement. So it's really stating the firm's cash generating ability. It's a simple and straightforward report. It's like a scorecard on the financial performance of your business. It reflects when sales are made and when expenses are incurred. It really draws on information from various financial models developed, such as your revenue, your expenses, your capital that you have, as well as the cost of goods. When you combine all these elements, the income statement really illustrates just how much your company makes or loses during the year by subtracting the cost of goods and expenses from revenue, arriving at a net result, which is either going to be a profit or a loss. At the end of this, you're going to want to include a short note as well, analyzing the results. It should be extremely brief and simply emphasize the key points and takeaways from the income statement. Next, we're speaking of the statement of cash flows. This is one of the most critical info tools for your business, since it shows how much cash you'll need to meet obligations, when you'll need it, and where it's going to come from. The result of this is the profit or loss at the end of each month and year. In year one of a new business, you should complete this monthly so that you have a better understanding of exactly how much money you have at the time. This can, transition into a quarterly cash flow statement in year two, and you can really just complete this annually once you have a good grasp on your business afterwards. The result of this is going to be, that you carry both profits and losses over to the next month and show the cumulative amount. If you're running a loss here, that's a major red flag, because that indicates that you're not having enough cash coming into the business to meet your expenses. And that needs to be addressed immediately, because if that continues to occur, we're looking at a failing business, essentially. The last financial statement we're going to need is a balance sheet. So this breaks down all the preceding financial information into three different categories: assets, liabilities, and equities. This will be a projected balance sheet within a business plan for a new business, and it'll be the previous periods within your business plan if you're an existing business. They calculate the net worth of a business by measuring the assets against the liabilities. To obtain financing for a new business, you're also going to need to include a personal balance sheet yourself, because you have no history and it is just projections. The bank or lender is going to need to know your own personal kind of credit score and lending ability, if that makes any sense to you. Again, you're going to want to create analysis of this at the end and really take some short points so that the lender can take a quick look and understand very briefly as to what is going on here. Finally, the last bit to any thorough business plan is including some supporting documents. So this is comparable to an appendix, and you're really just including any other documents that you think might be of interest to the reader. When we say that, we're speaking of, contracts with suppliers or customers. If you have a lease for office space or a manufacturing facility, you want a copy of that. If you're already an existing business, you want to include the tax returns for your last 3 years. If you're running a new business, you might want to include your resume, some letters of reference from previous employers, just to kind of build rapport, as well as help them understand who you are and that show that you're really committed to this entrepreneurial venture and you're going to give everything you've got. Really, anything you think that's relevant to the business itself should be included here as a supporting document. So that wraps up the section actually related to what should be included in a business plan. When we sent out the invitation for this webinar, we allowed you to also ask some questions, and we received an overwhelming response. We got over 50 different questions in, and so unfortunately we don't have the time or capacity to answer all of them, but I was able to answer a number of them, and we're going to go through some of those here. So the first one here, just very straightforward. I want to learn how to write a business proposal. So this is not a skill that you can just learn overnight. You can't just, sit down in half an hour, read an article, and understand how to write a business proposal. You really need to seek a business professional with experience in the field to ensure that it's thoroughly executed. This is really learned, via a combination of classroom learning and some real world experience. So I think that we're lucky by the fact that we live in the digital age today, and there's extreme amount of availability to online. They're called MOOCs, which is massive open online courses, and they can help you learn pretty much anything for free. So if you are interested in taking a course, I believe it takes about 30 hours. You can audit the class for free, or you can sign up and earn a certificate for, I think it's about $500 US. And it's the Professional Certificate in Business Model Innovation by TU Delft, which is a university out of the Netherlands. This is located on edX.org. It's a great course that really goes through the entire process of writing a business proposal, really fact-checking your business plan and making sure that you touch all bases when you go ahead and execute. Jumping to the next one. This is a great question. Is an entrepreneur born or made? So I know I spoke at the start when I was speaking about myself that I was born into a family of entrepreneurs. And although that is true, I think that entrepreneurs can certainly be made. To be successful, you really have to have the passion and the drive. Many think that risk is the biggest part of entrepreneurship. And although it's inherently shown by them by taking initiative yourself, that's not the case. The key trait of entrepreneurs is opportunity recognition. Nobody starts a business looking to lose money, lose their capital, waste their time. You start a business because you've recognized an opportunity, see a hole in the market, and have the passion to really execute and fill that need. So this opportunity recognition is not the same as risk. And I think that anyone can really learn and develop the toolkit needed to become a very successful entrepreneur. If you want to hear or read a little more, about um, entrepreneurs being made, I think that some great reading can be found if you search Google for Professor Julian Lange from Babson College, which is the world's #1 school for entrepreneurship. He has some great articles speaking about how he teaches entrepreneurship. He's created so many entrepreneurs and how they truly are made and evolved. They're not just risk takers. Next. How do you get started or even know which business to start? So again, this kind of ties directly into that question that I just answered as to whether an entrepreneur is born or made. So you really shouldn't become an entrepreneur without first recognizing an opportunity. As I said, you're not getting into entrepreneurship simply for the sake of saying that you own a business or have a business, because if you're doing that, you're really in it for all the wrong reasons. You should be becoming an entrepreneur because you've recognized an opportunity and know that you can go ahead and make a difference. You can set yourself apart from the competition. Like it says there, without recognizing that gap, you're really just setting yourself up for failure. And a lot of people even think that they recognize an opportunity and have a great business idea. But once they actually get into it and start going through and trying to create a business plan, they realize that maybe that isn't such a great idea. Maybe I shouldn't be an entrepreneur, or not, I shouldn't be an entrepreneur, but this is not the right opportunity for me to become an entrepreneur. And they go back to square one at the drawing board and try to come up with a new and better idea that can fill and recognize and create true opportunity. When's the best time to become an entrepreneur? Great question. That gets asked all the time. So what you have to understand is that being an entrepreneur is a 24/7 job. You're never off the clock, and you are truly the gears that turn and make the business operate. You must be willing to, make sacrifices to your family time, your me time, to get your business off the ground. If you're truly committed to entrepreneurship, it's not going to be a 40-hour-a-week job, especially not in the early days of your company. You're going to be spending night in, night out, thinking of how you can differentiate yourself, how you can improve your business, and how you can really be as successful as possible. And with that being said, there's really no time in life that is the right or wrong time to become an entrepreneur. It comes down to that opportunity you've recognized that I keep speaking about, and the commitment you're willing to put into creating a successful business. If you're not going to be committed to it, you're ultimately, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be successful. You really have to put your best foot forward, give it everything you got, and every business isn't going to be a success. I will never tell you otherwise. But if you give it everything you got, you are on a much better path to success than if you do not. Next. Does it make sense to finance the entire business yourself, or should you take a loan? So again, this differs greatly depending on a number of different factors. Obviously the first one, do you have the capital available to completely fund the business yourself? And this changes from business to business. Are you opening up a small store in your town, or are you looking to create a manufacturing facility that's going to be distributing products worldwide? Obviously, this is a massive difference between the two, and you really have to take that into account first. Are you going to look to take a loan from the bank, or are you willing to sell a stake of equity in your business to an investor? If you're selling a stake of equity into your business, you have to understand, are you also going to take their advice and have them as a full partner that way? Or are they simply going to be there and taking a share of your profits while you do all the work? I don't have the right answer for that either way. That depends on the person and the business. You may be able to sell your stake to someone who's an expert in the field, and they may have a distribution network that can immediately launch your product off the ground. In those cases, it certainly, in my opinion, I think that you should definitely consider that, because it can exponentially increase the success in your business down the road. Next, this one's a little more specific, but how can I raise funds as a home baker looking to move to a bakery? So again, I think the best place to start here is with a comprehensive business plan, as we've been speaking about today. Without this business plan, it's really going to be difficult for you to get funding from any reputable institutional investor. They're not going to loan you the funds to scale up without a full business plan as to what you're going to do with the funds, how you're going to use it, and how you're going to really take that path to profitability. That once you can illustrate and share sound financial numbers, the funding becomes much more readily available in this case. And that really applies to any small business looking to do the same thing. If you can show your path to profitability, how you differentiate yourself and why you're going to be successful, you're going to be in a much better place when you start to look for investors and to raise funds. Next question is, how can I scale up and be more effective in my marketing on a low budget? So again, we're extremely fortunate to be living in the digital age with social media. Social media is extremely influential on the purchasing habits of consumers today. Now, if you're talking about starting a retirement home, social media is probably not the best platform to be using as a marketing tool. But for the most part, people from the age of 10 to 65 are extremely active on social media. We're talking Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn. And you can really market on social media for no cost at all. If you implement an effective and consistent social media marketing plan, you have an opportunity to not only reach more potential customers, but you'll do this at a fraction of the cost of traditional print and digital media marketing. So this is a great tool to use, and it can be extremely effective with little to no cost at all to yourself. Next, so what is the ideal break-even period for a startup? Obviously, as we're talking, no one starts a business looking to lose money. So you're always going to wonder, when am I going to break even? When am I going to start, realizing profits from this business? And that's, in case you don't know, that's what break even means. It occurs when the total revenue equals that of the total cost. So this really differs greatly depending on the organization again, and it's really difficult to expect to break even at a specific point itself. A general rule of thumb for this is that you should prepare to run your business for 3 years prior to reaching this point. So ensure that when you're financing this business, you have the funds to support yourself and live day to day, whether it be through the business loan or the salary you're giving yourself to survive for 3 years, because it could take three full years to break even with that business where your profits and your revenue are going to equal your costs. So again, you really want to consider this when you're financing the business via any loans or investors. That sums up what I've prepared for today. I'm not sure what Glory has in mind, but I'm free to open up to some questions if that's okay. Do I have time here, Glory?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Devon, for this very enlightening webinar. I think everyone will agree with me that the content was superb, and they've taken away quite a few learning points from today's session. So I can see I opened up the chat room for some questions. I can see some. Devon, would you be able to take at least a question from the chat room? Or because we're almost at the end of the webinar. So, okay, what I could do, I'll take these questions down and send them to Devon, and then we'll see if we can get you your answers sent offline or to the WhatsApp group that we opened for this webinar. Saratu Yes, Saratu asked how she would get the materials. I will share the recording with everyone that registered for we're recording the webinar. So I will share it with everyone that signed up for the webinar. Now, just before we leave, I thought I would share some opportunities with the team. Okay, well, first of all, Devon is a Cleos, this webinar is brought to you courtesy Cleos Africa. Devon is a Cleos Africa consultant, as you can see. If you follow the link on the screen, you will find his profile, and he can help you if you need Devon's help with a business plan for your idea. Devon can help you with a business plan for about the sum of 100,000 Nigerian naira. So you might a couple of you might also be wondering, okay, what happens next after this business plan? I would like to let you know about the creative industry financing initiative of the Central Bank of Nigeria. It's a loan scheme which the CBN has come up with to help small businesses in Nigeria. The loan terms are very friendly, and it's something that I have helped some entrepreneurs write business plans, and some of them have gotten funds from the central bank through through Access Bank, which I'm a consultant to Access Bank. And so the Access Bank has disbursed quite a few funds to small business owners in Nigeria. So if you get a business plan from us, you can also apply for this loan. If you don't, assuming you don't have collateral and you have a good idea, such as a technology business, we can also connect you to international investors who invest in technology-based businesses, and they will provide equity as long as you have a solid plan, like Devon has said, a plan for profitability. So I don't know how many of you are aware of Cleos Africa. Devon, if you can let me share. I would like to just quickly show the platform to the people on the call, if that's possible.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing now. I'll hand the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so let's see. Okay, I'd like to share my screen. Just a minute, hold on. Okay, so this is Cleos Africa. It's an online consulting platform which I developed. I'm the lead consultant of Cleos Africa. My name is Glory Ininaya, and Cleos Africa connects people all over the world with consultants all over the world as well. Assuming you want to get a business plan done, you just go to the home page, click on business plan, let's go. You can see a number of consultants here. There's Devon. Devon, I'm hovering, the mouse is hovering on his profile now. So you can see Devon offering his services at the 100,000 Nigerian naira. I mean, his time is limited. So assuming, you reach out to him and he's not available to help you, we also have a couple other consultants, very good consultants as well, that can help you with your business plans. Now, assuming you're not quite sure that a business plan is what you need, or you need to talk to a business professional at first of all, before you engage one for a plan, you can get a mentor. You can book an appointment with a mentor. We have a mentoring service on Cleos Africa as well. That's Devon. Devon is also a mentor. I'm hovering on his profile now. So Devon is a mentor. You can book an appointment with him. He's available on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So depending on your availability and his, you can come and book an appointment with Devon, and you can chat with him for about 15,000 Nigerian naira per hour. So at the end of this, Devon will give you a report summarizing your issues and the solutions he preferred, and then you can decide whether to go ahead and do your business plan, or whether you decide, on doing something else. So we also have a couple more mentors. If your challenge is human resources, marketing strategy, I saw someone someone on the chat asked a question about content marketing. You can get to talk to someone about content marketing on the site, strategic plans, financial statements. If you need help with your books, you can also get that done. So in summary, you can speak with Cleos Africa mentors or consultants to help take your business to the next level. Okay, so wow. Okay, so that's I think that's it for today. Thank you very much, Devon. This has been amazing. I can see a lot of people on the chat saying thank you for the informative talk. And yeah, we are happy to have you with us. And I will, please, if you have any more questions for Devon, or you want him to help you with your business plan, do reach out to me and I will connect you with him as soon as I can. So thank you everyone for signing up for this webinar. And I hope you have enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you so much. All right, take care. Bye, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming and taking the time today.
All right. Thank you. Bye.